What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. In today's video, we're jumping into the Invincible Iron Man issue number 20. In the aftermath of the first Krakoan era, there's still a few things that need to be sorted out. One of those things is the marriage between Tony Stark and Emma Frost. A marriage that was born out of necessity, a matter of life and death, and so having no other option, the two of them end up getting married. But along the way, both of them start to catch feelings. More and more, this relationship begins to feel more legitimate to them. But now that the war is over, now that the threat of Orcus has been dealt with, what is the direction that they go now? Will the couple stay married, or will they inevitably go down their own path? Make sure you guys have subscribed to the channel, make sure that you like this video, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we pick up with the narration of Tony Stark. Orcus has fallen. The island of Krakoa is no more. The Hellfire Club demolished. But Tony finds himself right now in court, currently trying to dismiss Rhodey's case. And while She-Hulk and Tony, they kind of talk about the financial aspect of how She-Hulk's gonna get paid. Because right now, Tony's not really making a lot of money. His autobiography also isn't, it's not really selling as well as he had hoped. But what Rhodey really wants to know, what happened to Fei Long? This is what takes us to Mars, now called Arakko. Up here, there's a prison that was built by Tony Stark. No doors, no latches, no escape, and a hologram of Tony Stark popping up. Fei Long trying to attack, but obviously it does nothing to him. The armor and this prison are impervious to his blasts. Fei Long is curious on what Tony Stark really plans to do with him, because he says that he would like to go back to Earth and be judged by a jury of his peers. But Tony knows that this would go in his favor. He has money, and Tony does not trust the justice system with men like him. He went to war with Tony Stark and he lost. These are the consequences. Tony decides his fate, asking if this would be his fate for the rest of his life. Tony says that that's really up to you. This place is built to last for years, but Tony does believe in redemption. He can start by writing down, confessing everything that he has ever done. Picking up later, Tony thinking to himself that when he caught up with Fei Long, he might have killed him. He dreamt of it. In the end, he didn't want to get his hands dirty. But we have Tony Stark showing up to a bookstore. He shows up for the signing of his autobiography, the book titled The Assembling of Tony Stark. The bookstore having people line up overnight. People dressing up, cosplaying as Iron Man. Tony saying that someone out there even resembled Crimson Dynamo. But taking a moment and thinking on this, he recognizes that wasn't no cosplay. That's when the Crimson Dynamo busts through the wall, screaming for the glory of the Soviet Union. He comes to take down Tony Stark. Tony taking off his watch and throwing it at him. Having some modifications, this thing is able to stun the Crimson Dynamo. That gives Tony the opportunity to run and get into his suit. As he gets into his suit, he tells everybody to run. The two of them battling in the streets. The bookstore set ablaze. Civilians running in all directions. And so Tony does a Hail Mary pass. Something that he didn't want to use, something that he's currently calling just gunk, something that he developed for the Sentinels, almost like freezing them in amber. But he never intended to use this stuff on anything other than a Sentinel, so the Crimson Dynamo is going to be frozen in there for quite some time. Tony taking off, we pick up later in New York City. His first book signing was a bust. He lost money, but right now, he's got a date with Emma Frost. The two of them sit down and they have a conversation, and he is telling Emma that he doesn't want her to leave. And he's really hoping that she's willing to hear out his pitch. And Emma must admit that Tony makes her laugh. If she's being honest with him, she didn't expect to be here today. She thought that she might actually die in the Krakoan War. And after everything that she has been through, she just needs some time alone. But she tells him that he was the lone bright spot in what is questionably the most difficult time in her life. And as she goes to walk away, we see that she was never there to begin with. It was all in Tony's mind. her projecting herself there. But she does leave something behind. She leaves money, telepathically communicating with him still. She has just given him a tremendous amount of money, billions of dollars, telling him to put it to good use. Now, before Emma Frost gets out of town, Tony does tell her to stop by Doctor Strange's place. When he had snuck onto Krakoa to find the Mysterium to make Mark 72 armor, he found a little piece of Emma's heart, a photo album of the Kuko sisters. Now, if you ask Tony if he considered his marriage to be real, he doesn't know about the legality of it all. But for Tony, it definitely felt real. And before Emma left, she did have one request. At the footsteps at the X-Men treehouse in New York City, Iron Man puts up a memorial, one that says dedicated to those who paid the ultimate price to fight fascism, with the monument nicely lit and set up for all to see. Ironheart no longer having the rings, and Iron Man thanking her for all of her help. Had she not delivered the Mark 73 armor, he may not have been able to help change the trajectory of this war. But as the two of them head off in their own directions, Iron Man quickly learns that Emma Frost got all of that money for him through kind of shady means. As he headed out west and went to start a new life in Los Angeles, he bought an airstrip out there using that money. She used her powers and made the market work for her. A kind of insider trading, fake trades and skimmed accounts. It took a while for people to notice. Some other people are definitely gonna want their money, and all of that money now is in the hands of Tony Stark. Him and War Machine have made it out to Los Angeles. They have headed out to the West Coast. And while the relationship with Emma might be coming to an end, at least for the time being, a new adventure is about to begin. This is the beginning of the new West Coast Avengers. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Alright, so not a bad issue number 20. We finally get some closure on the Emma and Tony relationship. We understand what's fully going on here. Now, many of us, including myself, had hoped that this relationship would continue on, but obviously they got plans to separate these two. Emma's off going to do her own thing, and Tony is headed off to the West Coast to start the West Coast Avengers, the new West Coast Avengers. And I'm interested to see what this team, this lineup's gonna be, because War Machine isn't picking necessarily heroes, but anti-heroes or even villains, trying to reform them into heroes on the West Coast. And we do see that Iron Man is holding on to the Mark 72 armor. His Mysterium Iron Man suit appears to be staying for the time being. Maybe eventually they'll find a reason to try to get rid of it, move it to the side, or whatever the case may be. But as it stands, he is now holding one of the most powerful armors he has ever had. We can only imagine how he's going to upgrade it, improve it, and make it better as time progresses. And the shell of the Mark 73 is still out there. The power source was his biggest problem, but again, with time, that is something that he's probably going to be able to solve. Either way, there's a lot of potential, a lot of fun on the horizon. War Machine is back in action. The new West Coast Avengers are going to be picking up. I am excited to see what direction this is all taking us. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you want to get caught up on everything that has been going on with Iron Man, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It's gonna get you completely caught up on everything that is going on with this series. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. Much like Patreon, having multiple different tiers, from $1 to $50, from loyalty badges to comics every single month. Not only are you helping out the channel tremendously, but you are getting tons of perks in the process. Now, if you're unable to do this, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.